Hey, Sebas, thank you so much for joining me on Grow with
Of
the
course.
Flow.
Thank you for inviting
Really,
me.
it's really my pleasure and privilege. Sebas, why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about where you are and how you got here?
Okay. So I'm in Argentina, actually, Cordoba, which is in the middle of the country. For those who don't know Argentina, we're in the very south of America, and I'm right in the middle of the country. And I started 10 years. So I've been a coder for I don't know how many years. And for like the last 10 years, I would say I've been working for a startup called Olapic, who was, it's actually a company from the US where I was the first hire. And I moved to New York. I worked for the company for a couple of months, and then I came back to Argentina and started building the team here in Argentina. And Olapic was one of those good stories where a company in the US had a full engineering team in Argentina. None of the engineering happened in the US. It was all in Argentina. And well, eventually the company had an exit. It was sold. So it was a good story of how a company from the US can have a team outside of the US and do well. So that's how I started in the startup world, and now I'm the founder of Remotely, trying to help other companies basically do the same.
Okay.
That's how I ended up here, and why I ended up in Argentina. Well, I was born here. My parents were met here.
There is a thing about being where you belong, right? So
Yeah.
as much as I have complaints with India, I can't imagine myself anywhere else in the world. So, what
Well,
can you do?
similar thing.
Olapic was a fairly large acquisition, right? And
Yeah.
the entire team, or at least the engineering, was entirely built in Argentina. So even
Yes.
though remote work is, for the likes of us, we were forced into it, and now we just can't. I think this is the right way for companies to grow. At least tech companies. I should give that disclaimer. But you've been doing this for a really long time. So what have been your learnings along the way?
Well, I remember in the beginning, like 10 years ago, when Olapic started, having a remote team was a problem actually. It's funny because it was not remote to me, but it was remote for everyone else, right? Because Olapic, so the founders of Olapic were from Spain, so they met in the US and they started the company there. And then I moved to New York. I helped started the company on the software side of things, and then I came back. So Olapic was remote. Engineering was remote from the beginning. Was always remote. So at the beginning, it was a problem because actually very few VCs wanted to invest in a company in the US who had their team not in the same office. And I was actually a big question is how are you going to make sure that the engineering team is doing what you need them to do when they are like, I don't know, a million kilometers away from you? And I remember the CEO back then saying, why won't they? Like, they are all big. And it was hard at the beginning. So it was hard to actually convince people that it can happen. It was hard to convince VCs in this case because we need the money, that you can have a team somewhere else and still be good at it. And then I would say that my biggest challenge as the company started growing was the cultural aspect of working from like being from Argentina and having an Argentinian team working with Americans with their American culture, right?
Right.
We have a say in Argentina where we say that God is everywhere, but his office is in Buenos Aires. I think that companies from the US are similar. Like there are a lot of companies who have offices all around the world, but it's common that their headquarters is in the US and decisions happen in the US. So I would say that it was a big challenge to make sure that we were listening to the Argentinian part of things when the decisions were made.
Right.
And that decisions can be made with people that are not in your office, and that's a mindset that needs to happen. Like, you need to understand that some of the people with the information you need are not sitting right next to you. That was a big challenge. And teaching the rest of the company, like as you grow, well, when you're a startup, you know that you grow very quickly. Like you go, your first year you're 20, second year you're 100, third year you're 500, and it's you don't have control on how quickly that grows. And every time a new person comes, they come with their own like culture and things they know, and teaching very quickly to a lot of people that you need to ask the questions to that person who is 2 hours ahead of you in the south, where their English is not great. So you need to like lower your speed of English. They will try to balance and understanding and the cultural gap and things like that. That was a big challenge, but it works, and the benefits of that is great.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, Sebas, why don't you take us a little bit deeper into what exactly Remotely does and how do you operate?
Okay, so Remotely, our goal is to give everyone in the world the same opportunities for jobs that happens in the US, right? So we want to be able to, for anyone, anywhere in the world, to be able to apply to a job in the US. We know that there's very good talent everywhere, and I think it's a misconception that you need to find the talent right next to you, and you shouldn't be looking at the world. I think or the pandemic actually helped people realize that and force them to work remote, and they realized that it wasn't that bad, and that some things are harder, but other things are easier. So that's our goal. And what we do is we believe, so we like to say that we're different in a couple of things. First is that we are talent first. This means that we make sure that the experience of the new job for the talent is great. And that means that we're not the classical recruiters that go and like hunt you by email, and we write 1,000 emails and things like that. We make sure that the offer that we send to you is the one that you like. We've interviewed I don't know how many engineers around Latin America and asked them, hey, what is the way that you like for the opportunities to come to you, right? And we are every day evolving in that way of communicating with engineers to make sure that when we write to them because we think it's a good opportunity for them. And then we make sure that the experience around the pipeline, right, or the recruiting experience is the best for them. We make sure that we help you apply to a company that you like, that you apply to a company where the future growth is aligned with what you want. And we like to call us their managers, just like an actor has a manager or like a football player has a manager. We like to say that we are developer managers, right? And we have a conversation with them. We ask them what they want to do, how they see them working in a couple of years, what salary they want to make, what type of companies they want to work, and we digest that information, and then we go and find opportunities for them.
And you put them on contract role with various US tech companies.
Exactly.
Okay.
For the companies, we are sort of vertically integrated, right? So we help the companies in the US hire these candidates. We don't only bring them the candidates, but we help them recruit the candidates, and we also help them manage them as they are an employee of the company. We make
Sure.
it as close as possible to any other employee, right? It's still a contract agreement, right? We create a contract with the engineer, but we make it as close as we can to an actual full-time job, right?
Sure.
We make it as much as possible as if they were in the same office in the US.
Yeah.
And I think that a big part of what we do is we help the companies grow and learn on how to be good at having remote teams, and especially not only remote teams, but remote teams in Latin America. I'd say Latin America has a type of culture that is similar in some aspects, but very different in each country. Like Brazil is very similar to Argentina in some things, but very different in others. And we help companies work around those culture gaps, the way we call it, to make sure that they do it great, and that the opportunity that we're giving to the candidate is actually good, and that it doesn't create churn in the future, right? We want the candidate to be working for the company for as long as possible, and we make sure on both sides, the candidate and the company, that they are doing their best. We give everything that we can to the candidate. Like, we teach them, we give them English lessons if they need to. We help them how to have the conversation that they want to have with a manager. We make sure that the managers are having one-on-ones with them. We help the company, like a classic issue for American-centric companies. It's like, our first question is, okay, you're going to hire this person, he lives in Brazil. What type of holidays can this person take? And the classic answer is, well, they can take the American holidays. And the first question we ask is, why would a Brazilian take the 4th of July, right?
Yeah.
Why will this guy have the 4th of July free? Doesn't make any sense. You need to make sure that the experience for the person in Brazil is like compatible with the country where he lives, right? So we help them go around those things.
Right. So are these one-off hires, or do you help your clients establish like entire teams in LATAM?
So we focus on full-time and long-term opportunities. It's not temporary jobs. We go one by one, but we look for companies who are looking for building a team. Like we also know, and we tell this to our clients, that if you create a remote team, it goes a long way if you continue growing remote. And if you're close in culture, it also helps, right? So we help them. Generally speaking, the companies that we hire, they all want to build a team, not just one person. And we make sure that happens. So we help them grow in teams in Latin America.
Right. So it's kind of like a full stack solution for tech companies in US to build engineering, or at least part of engineering, in South America.
Yes.
Okay. Sure. Brilliant.
I think something that is important is that our vision is not only that, but also the same for the talent. Like, we want to be vertically integrated for the talent too. Like, I don't know, you're from Brazil. How do you get paid in dollars? Like, how can we help you get paid from a company in the US? Some countries are easy, some countries are very hard. Argentina, for example, is a hard country to get dollars, right? Yeah. So we help them go, and I imagine in the future maybe building more product around specific needs on the talent. So we want to be integrated on both sides.
Wow, wonderful. That's actually that's a massive gap in the market, especially with engineering, right? Like we all know to treat our clients really, really well, but the key is to treat your candidates really, really well, and that's what leads to more longer term success, because your clients are there for you because you can drive great talent to them, right? So
exactly.
it's
we want to make sure that we are creating a good experience for the talent, and that we want the talent to feel like we are taking care of them in whatever aspect that means or they need.
No, that's fantastic. And one of the things that when I look at remotely and how you operate and how you do stuff, right? Like it's so well thought out, right? Everything, and I think a lot of it stems from the fact that you are bringing the ethos of running a tech company to recruiting, right? So if you're not aware, and I will also put a link in the description below, uh, Remotely runs a Substack, which is an absolute delight and extremely insightful to read. And they have public updates for investors. They have all the kind of matrix that they track, and how Remotely tracks velocity of improvement is what is what very first thing that really hit me on my face, that okay, this company is different. Is how reading your Substack and how you are so focused on velocity of things, right? Which is just so refreshing. I want to quote from your Substack, and and I'm quoting here from this article. Why we are building remotely, which is I think the first or the second article that you have written on the Substack, and it goes. Remotely was born out of the belief that great talent can be anywhere. Coming from outside the US ourselves, this was not a hard assumption to make. When we started Olapic, looking abroad in search of great talent came very naturally to us. Back in 2011, you could already foresee the impact that the cost of living and competitive dynamics for hiring locally was having on software developer salaries, and decided to look elsewhere. And this trend has super accelerated in just this one decade, right? And so that way, I think you guys were very early to see where this was heading. And the trade-off was not easy to make. We were rejected often because we outsourced our development, which couldn't have been further from the truth. Our developers were our employees. They just happened to live elsewhere. The quality of foreign talent was also questioned and still is, despite the inadvertent offensiveness of this bias. I'm an engineer, so I think this is written by you, or
no? This is Pau. This
Pao?
is Olapic CEO and now Remotely CEO. He's an engineer, and he got his degree in Spain.
Yeah, so this is something that I can resonate with very, very well. I think most of the listeners who are in US, they don't know what we are talking about here, but I want to understand more about how did you get around this problem, and really turning this tide. I mean now it is so much easier compared to, I'm sure, in 2011, if somebody said that we are building an entire engineering team in Bangalore. You generally associate Bangalore with BPO and outsourcing, but you don't realize that it's one of the top 10 unicorn producing cities in the world, with incredible tech talent. But most people don't realize that. So how did you fight this notion?
I would say that the results first. Like Olapic was growing a lot, and the level of the product that we had was very good compared to, it was way better than our competition back then. We were going very quickly. We were going we were very smart in the things that we built. I would say we had good leadership. Like our CEO, our CTO, and our chief of revenue back then were ready, and we were aligned And then once you've shown that you're doing good, you can show, like, the classic question is, how do you do it? And when you show the costs that you have for the engineering team in Argentina versus what we will cost in the US, you say, that's how. That's like, each dollar was getting us better results than if you build that in the US, right?
Right.
And also, I would say that in 2011, when we started with Olopic and I was building a team, 10 years ago in Argentina, it was very rare to see startups, specifically startups from the US. And more specifically, startups from the US who were doing good, like we're in a good path, right? The famous hockey stick, like it was happening to Olopic. And I didn't know anyone else who was working at a startup like that. Like today, 2021, hearing about unicorns, hearing about startups, hearing about companies that do great, and that it's normal if you live around IT. But 10 years ago in Cordoba, where I'm from, nobody knew what a startup was, so nobody knew about that. So for the team in Argentina, it was the best thing for them, right? They were living the dream. And all of those things that you heard, like being from Facebook and doing, I don't know, hackathons and to build the new whatever product, we were doing here. So the experience was, we were living the American dream in Argentina, and that was what made your head explode.
Yeah.
And when you show the results of that, where you can give the opportunity to a lot of people from a place like Argentina, in our case, that when you give them the power, basically, you give them the resources to do, and what they do is as good as or better than what you could have done in the US, that's when it starts working, basically.
Yeah. So
that's how we show, I guess, with results.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Right. So you would find a lot of naysayers, and I don't hear it, when we are having conversations with our customers, I don't hear it as often anymore. But when we were very young, right, we were just three of us who started this company out of living room of my co-founder. We work from there. I would take all the demos and sales calls from there, and at that time we have a little bit of a tough time convincing people that three guys living half of the world away from you actually do understand your problem and can solve it for you. And we will do it better than anybody else can, right? So so it's more like you gotta steamroll all of that objections and negativity with just results, right? And once you start doing that, it doesn't bother you anymore.
I mean, I sort of understand it, because it's hard to think that something will work if you cannot see it, right? And when I mean you see it, you don't see the engineering team in the same office doing what you're asking them, right? But once you break that mindset, you realize that talent, like we said there, talent is everywhere, and you can get good people from anywhere in the world. And there's also another thing where I think that different cultures bring new ideas, and it makes you think different, and that's where you find that's how you're different, right? Like I don't mean this in the wrong way, but if you build a company of Americans, you're gonna only have American ideas, right? But now you have, I don't know, people from, I don't know, Bangalore, and you have one Argentinian, someone from Bangalore, a guy from, I don't know, Jamaica, and Spanish product manager. That is a source of ideas and different things that can come up with that.
I couldn't agree more, right? Like it's all of our cultures have their peculiarities. Our backgrounds are very different, and it's just getting all of this, putting it in one melting pot, a virtual Zoom melting pot, let's just put it that way, can cook something pretty amazing, right? And And that's probably why a lot of American ingenuity and innovation comes from, because it's just people from all over the world, the brightest are there, all doing, they fail a lot, but then when they succeed, it's just massive. Great. I want to I also want to go back to your Substack and the recent one that was written, which was also extremely insightful, as developers as an asset class, which is, if you look, if you are working in technology, and if you're looking at compensations and the kind of competition that's out there for software developers, you would understand what we are trying to talk about. But you should definitely read that, where Paul puts a very serious case about having developers as an asset class for your company. And explain this a little bit to us, right? And for the benefit of our audience who are not necessarily in the world of technology, what you are seeing as as competition for tech talent is heating up, and why do you think that developers are an asset class?
Well, I think that so we have like Argentina is known, well, a big company here in Argentina is Globant, for example, and we are known for the outsourcing company, right? And well, India also, right? There are a lot of outsourcing companies in India, the same as in Argentina and all around the world. We have a set here in Argentina where we say that companies hire 20 kilos of Java or 30 kilos of Node.js, and then they go and find a bag of, I don't know, PHP, right?
We call it kilos, we call it truckloads. Yeah,
yeah.
One truckload of Java, one truckload of Python.
Exactly. And they buy, I don't know, a bunch of PHP, right? And they don't realize that those are people, right? And we try to change that mindset, and we want to show you that you shouldn't be thinking about you need a Node.js developer, you need Javier Ibanez, you need Mauricio, right? It's a person that you're looking for. It's an actual human being that knows a couple of things, that have worked in something before that is actually a good thing for you, and understanding that you need to treat them and understand that these people are anywhere, and you need to go and find them, and we want to help you do that. I don't know why we were like, originally we were biased about local. I guess companies are always afraid that the employee is not doing what they ask them to. It's that trust. The problem is trust, I would say. But that's also why it's hard. And I think building trust is hard, and building trust with someone from a different culture is actually harder. So I think that because of the pandemic and because of the competition that's happening, people started looking outside because they didn't have an option. Like, they had a couple of dollars and they want to spend it as better as they could, and they actually found a very good engineer that was, I don't know, in Russia, and they loved him, and they realized that there are good engineers in Russia. Why do I don't look more for engineers around? And that's how it starts, right? And building that trust, and they fail. I think that people who have done this and failed is because they couldn't build trust. And it goes around that. I think.
Perfect.
I think somehow the rest of the world started to show that Americans can trust us, right? We showed them somehow.
Yeah, right. You're absolutely right. So I want to talk a little bit about how you run and operate remotely, right? So what are the kind of key? So how large is the team? How is it structured? and what are the key metrics that you track?
So we are a fairly small team. We are now at 13 people, I think, completely remote. We have a small team of engineers in Spain. We have 2 of the 4 founders live in New York. Another founder lives in London, and I'm here in Argentina. And we have a 5-person team, a talent team here in Córdoba, and another sales rep working from here from Córdoba. We are a fairly small team, and I think that our biggest goal, or the reason why, well, you probably have seen that on the Substack, is we focus on automating, and we, like, each person has a role. Like I'm on the engineering / product side of things, but specifically for the talent team. So we have a talent team where they take care of sourcing and vetting. Well, basically my job is to be looking at what they do. Not these are non-technical people, right? They are very knowledgeable in how to hire an engineer, but they have no idea on how to do engineering. And trying to find the ways, what are the things that we can automate from that. And we are basically, as founders, the 4 founders, we've done all the job before. Like, we've done it ourselves. We've hired we built the first team, we've done everything, and automate on top of that. So our goal is to be able to automate each step of the process for as much as we can, and leave the small part that is actual real value from the person who does that to do that alone. Like, we have a person in the team who loves interviewing. I don't know if you interviewed for candidates, I guess you did, but interviewing is hard and it takes a lot of time. Well, she's having 10 interviews per day and she loves it, right?
Yeah.
So she takes amazing notes. She knows how to ask. She knows how to get a person who is an introvert to start to speak up and tell the things that she needs. She's the best. So we are building software around her so that the only thing that she has to do is get on a Zoom call and have the meeting. Everything else should happen automatically. And that's what we do every day. It's like, we learn a step, we learn how it happen, we automate it, and we go to the next. So that's how we can grow this much, and with a fairly small team. And our key metric is basically people working. We call it the Remotely network. Is people working for Remotely companies.
Right.
Our metric is, the way I like to put it, how many souls we've touched.
Yeah.
And we want to grow that number. Our goal is for this year to be around 100 people, and we are 57, around 60 people. So we're in a good track to our goal.
Wow.
But our number is, like, the same way we are developer centric. We want to be. We measure how many souls we touch.
That's beautiful. That's fantastic. And looking at recruitment not as asses and seats, but souls that we touch, right? It's and that's some of these things, right? Like, it's that's why it's very refreshing. And I actually have subscribed to your Substack, right? And I have dragged and dropped it to my primary folder, so that every time there is something, I get to read it. And I'm a massive fan. So how is Remotely different from other recruiting businesses, and what gives you your competitive advantage?
So I think about 3 ways. Being developer centric, even though it sounds easy, is very hard. Things like not sending an opportunity to a candidate because it's not a good fit. Like, it happened to us that we've we found the candidate for a company at what in paper they were looking for, but we knew it was not a good fit. We knew that it would send to them, if we send the candidate to them, they will make an offer, but we didn't send them because we knew it was not a good opportunity for the candidate. Doing that is, I think, is a big difference, because we really care that the person who we are sending is actually going to have a good time and a good career inside that company. That doesn't mean it's a problem for any of them. It means that what he was looking for is not there. So we need to keep looking, and we need to find a new opportunity for that. That is to us being developer centric, and that is, I think, our biggest, being their manager, like making sure that they are growing, and wherever they're going, it's a growth path for them. It's a huge difference. I think the process we built for the candidate is very thoughtful and very step by step for them, right? For the person. So that's first. The second, we help the companies a lot on understanding the difference, and we've done it before, and we know how to do it. So we help the companies understand how to hire, not just giving you candidates, but teaching you how to make sure that that hire works. Like, I don't know, stupid things like holidays, like I said before, or how do they do the interview, right? How to make sure that your interview is not a blocker for Latin America, or like the questions you ask, I don't know, whatever it is, we help you that, and we give you that. That's part of our value proposition. And third, we have a proprietary tool that we built called GitSite, where we analyze the code of candidates, and we know what they like, sort of. We try to guess what they like, and we understand what they've done in the past, and we use that information to try to give them the opportunities that we think they're gonna like, and we don't ask the questions that we already have an answer to. So we have.
That's awesome. It sounds like a very small thing, but I'm sorry to cut you off, but I've interviewed as a candidate with God knows how many people, but I know that, if you had taken one look at my LinkedIn or my resume, you wouldn't be asking me this question. But
exactly,
almost 90% of the time we get asked the same question, and we answer the same thing.
So it's like
tedious.
We've seen your LinkedIn. We've known that you've worked at, I don't know, cryptocurrency company for like the last 5 years. We've seen your GitHub. We know the type of languages you code. We know how good or bad you are. We know that you've used, I don't know, Elasticsearch to do whatever thing. Yeah. I'm not going to ask you that. I'm going to ask you, what do you want to do? Where do you see yourself in a couple of years? What type of companies are you looking for? Do you want to continue on crypto? Do you want to move somewhere else? Are you looking for a big company or a small company? Are you going on a manager track, or you want to continue on an individual contributor? What type of things happened to you in the past that you don't want them to happen again? We have that conversation.
That's like you're skipping one whole conversation and getting straight to the stuff that really matters to me as a candidate.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's fantastic. That's very refreshing. Okay, Sebas, so you talked about automation, and I would and you've been using Recruiter Flow as your CRM. So let's talk a little bit about your technology tech stack, and how has Recruiter Flow helped you in your mission of touching souls?
So Recruiter Flow is our core, basically. We use Recruiter Flow for everything. And I think that the biggest feature that we use from Recruiter Flow is your API. Our process for everything is basically centered on Recruiter Flow, where we have all of our job opportunities and the companies that we're looking for opportunities for. And back in the day when we were looking for an ATS, it is very rare to find an ATS that understands that you're not hiring for yourself, but for someone else.
Yeah.
Right. And the magic of Recruiter Flow is that you understand that we are recruiters for someone else. So your classes, your objects, your whatever you want to call them, are thought in a way that I'm hiring for someone else. So that's the first difference where when we found RecruitFund, the reason we liked it. And everything, all the information about our candidates is within RecruiterFlow, and all our process is within RecruiterFlow. And actually, if you go to our account and you mingle with our RecruiterFlow, you're gonna learn everything that we do and how we do it, because it's step by step and explained there. Now, we have a lot of other products built on top of Airtable, Zapier, and some Python scripts around RecruiterFlow API. And when I say we automate everything. Like, for example, we have a small script that we called it the Auto Sourcer 3000, which is basically because we have in RecruiterFlow the skills of candidates, and we also know the type of opportunity, the stack that these opportunities need. We automatically source candidates for our clients, so we don't have to look on RecruiterFlow to find the candidates. It happens automatically, and our job is just to make sure that it's a good fit. That happened after a lot of learning, a lot of normalizing skills, understanding what we need to track inside with RecruiterFlow, how we do the match, how we what are the questions that we ask when we open an opportunity. But all that happened after almost a year that we've been using RecruiterFlow, and it happened thanks to the API. And then we have a lot of other things like that. We do a lot of business intelligence using their analytics. We have dashboards that we're looking for every day. We have metrics that we look every week to understand how many interviews we need to have to be able to close X amount of opportunities. We understand, like, because we are sort of a marketplace, right? We track demand and supply at the same time, and we are always looking that the supply and the demand are balanced, or if at some point, I don't know, it grows, supply grows, I don't know. We have a lot of Java engineers, right? Somehow a lot of Java engineers came in, a lot of them are very good. So we can go to the demand and say, hey, we should start looking for opportunities that they're looking for Java engineers, right? We have a lot of Java engineers, and we don't have opportunities for them. Let's go find opportunities for these candidates that are very good, right? All of that happens because we have these BI dashboards that we built by looking at the RecruiterFlow API and build around. All our top of the funnel, we have ads running all the time. We use Typeform for those applications, and then we manage it to RecruiterFlow. And we have automated processes that grow the information within RecruiterFlow, like their Git site, which is the GitHub information that I told you before. LinkedIn PDFs. We try to find we match their skills in LinkedIn with the skills they said that they do. We find the difference and we ask them over email. We do campaigns, and on those campaigns we use the skills within the platform to ask them to make sure that they match. We teach their English. We check their English using Video Ask. So almost half of the vetting process happens through email automatically with email campaigns. So that when we get on the interview, we know that the person is a good fit. They know what they say they know, and we are ready to ask them, what do you want to do in life and how we can help you.
Yeah, beautiful. So, I mean, I have seen some of your dashboards and some of the things that you do. And frankly, right, like I think Remotely is the most sophisticated users of RecruiterFlow API. In fact, even we could think that you could do this with our API. And that's why it's a delight to speak with other engineers, right? Like, hey, you could do that with your API. Yeah, no, I never thought of that. So that's actually awesome.
Yeah. Well, because we are engineers, like two of the founders or the founders, we are engineers, and we have a lot of engineers in the team also. Yeah. We think about this a lot, and we think about how do we automate this. And like, again, the API, Recruitflow API, is the best thing that happened to us, because it allowed us to like it gives us time to do other things, to think about how we want to do it. I don't need to worry about how to get these candidates, because I already have the campaign working and I have ads, and it happens automatically. And at some point, it filters the candidates automatically based on some other information. The only thing I had to do now is to think, how do I ask these questions? How do I know this about this candidate? And automating that will give us the time.
No, that's a beautiful way to put it. And that's what that as a founder, right? And again, we are a very young company, so and when you get started, and you can't see that in 4 years somebody would be using what you built this way, and that's what gives me a lot of joy at looking at what Remotely does, and a lot of pride, right? Like we built this, right? And which is,
yeah, you should be proud. I mean, it's actually very well. Like I said, I've sent a lot of videos to Amri, and I some of my videos actually say, please show this to your team, because they should be proud, because it's the best thing that happened to us. And I really believe that. I mean, you've done great things.
Well, thank you so much. And that keeps us going. Well, Sebastian, I think we are running close to our end time, but one last thing that I want to get out of you is, what are your favorite books or any other resources that have made a big impact on how you think and how you see the world around you?
Well, this will sound cliche, I think, because the one book I keep remembering, that I always try to make sure that we're following, is sort of the lean startup, and and how to build products that people love, because we give a lot of thought on how to make sure that we're only building the things, like testing experiments and fail fast, right? And making sure that what we're building works or doesn't work very, very quickly, and make sure that we're not building a huge amount of engineering to try one stupid thing, right? And we put a lot of thought on, like, we do think a lot before building, and we make sure that our initiatives are, like, we make sure that our experiments, what's the hypothesis behind the experiment that we want to do, and make sure that we only execute it when we have to, right? And that thought, and that, like, when you read the Lean Startup or the How to Build Products that people love, or anything around product development, you come into the mindset that you only build, like, try very quickly, test it very quickly, fail fast, and then evolve on what you find works, right? We don't know what we're building necessarily, but we know what we want to get, and we track the KPIs and go forward. I think those books are the ones. It sounds cliche, because I never thought I was going to say that, but it's the book that I always go back to.
Yeah, no, the Lean Startup, I completely agree, right? And that's how we still operate a lot of things here. And I know I told you that this was going to be the last question, but I'm going to break that promise. Can you, so because Remotely, it's so unique that it runs like a tech company, but it's a recruiting company. So can you give us a couple of examples of experiments that you have run? Because I want to give our listeners an idea about, when I say running recruiting the way a tech company is run, right? Like marrying these two industries, which is what makes Remotely so interesting to me. I want to give them a little bit of a sneak peek into how this works from a recruiting company perspective.
So experiments, we've done a lot. So for example, we wrote, I don't know how many, maybe 1,000, like, starting emails. Only, like, we wrote maybe 1,000 different openings to an email, sending an offer to a candidate. to analyze which work more, like which work better for them to reply. And we even asked them, hey, sometimes they said, no, I'm not interested. And I actually sent them email saying, hey, you probably didn't like this email. What could I have done better for this email, for you to open this email? And people answered to that. And we were honest in the question, and we were honest on the answer, and we never wrote to them again. But we've done that I don't know how many times, and until we've learned how to write a good email that people actually like to read and has the information they want to see, until we automated with campaigns on how to send that email. So now we are good at sending 500 emails at once, but because we send 1,000 emails by hand.
Yeah.
That's an example. The other hand, so we tried, for example, video interviews. So to a bunch of people in those emails, when they say, yeah, I'm interested in this opportunity, we asked them to record themselves explaining why they were interested in this opportunity. We wanted to know, actually, we were just testing their English. That video was just to test their English. And we've learned that engineers hate recording themselves.
Yeah.
They are great. They have no problems having an interview over Zoom, where that meeting is recorded and that meeting happens in English, which is basically the same thing as saying it on a video. But they don't want to be recorded. They don't want to send it. They like talking to people. They don't see themselves recording themselves in a video. And we learned that after trying 50 different emails, different ways, asking them to do it, and they don't like it. But hey, can you hop on a call now? They will say yes, and we talk to them. Other testings, like we've tried a lot of things with the customers, like how many candidates should we send to a customer for them to say yes? Or like we've learned that some clients are just looking around, right? Or how you can. I created a bot that will send them candidates like I don't know. So we said that we only send 2 candidates for a company, right? But they want to see more, and we say no. Before I send you another candidate, I would just. I mean, you need to first say yes or no for a candidate until I send you a new one. And it's like, how do I know that I'm getting the best candidates that you have? And we're like, well, you don't. You just, if you find a candidate you like, you hire him. And then, so trying that, testing that, sending 1 or 2 candidates, sending 5 candidates. For one customer, we send 5. For another one, we send 2. This didn't hire anyone. This one hired 1. Those type of tests, A/B testing all the time, are the things that we're doing all the time. Type of emails. Automated sourcing was one of the biggest things that we did. Like how we realized, for example, that if we automate the sourcing and we only do the vetting, meaning that we check that the candidate is a good fit for the company, we've grown maybe 20% more candidates sent to a customer than when we do it manually. And that's huge. That's a huge improvement. And what are the things that you can automate on an email and what are the things you cannot? The classic, I don't know, hello, candidate name, right? And versus writing an actual email when people like. People don't like automatic emails, so you need to write it your own. But then you can automate the rest of the answers. Those type of things you learn it by doing.
Yeah, you are. I have not nodded so much in any other conversation that I've had, Sebastian. You've been an absolute delight to speak with. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Thank you for inviting me.
I will put all description about Remotely and their Substack, which is an absolute must read if you are a recruiter and if you like to see what tech can do for you. I'll put it in the description below. Thank you so much, Sebastian.
Thank you too. Thank you for inviting me, and keep up the work. We love Recruiter Flow. at Remotely.
Well,
It's our core, like I said.
thank you so much.